Well, I'm back in the U.S. groove. Well, I'm back in the New York groove. Guys, I have something that I've been hiding from you. I'm a cat backpack guy. Yes, I'm afraid to say it. I've been hiding a cat, Sumi, in a backpack for a number of years now. She's actually been with me nonstop in the fish room, when I go to the bathroom, when I drink Dr. Pepper, even when I run out of Dr. Pepper and I drink Mr. Pibb. It's wild. I guess I'm addicted. So here's my confession. How are we doing, you guys? I'm doing today's episode a bit early just because I can't. I'm free. I'm free to do what I want any old time. So this backpack she got for Christmas, and here, I'll open up her flap so she can come out. But she literally, so 2 days ago, she's an indoor kitty because we have coyotes, raccoons, and worst of all, we have cars. And the cars are really bad around here for hitting people's cats, unfortunately. There's a street with the speed limit of 45 miles per hour. Now, this backpack is a little bulky. It also has an extension, like I can unfold it. She crawls in right here. And I'm just going to leave her on the counter. And so we'll see if she comes out or whatever. But she's been sleeping in there. And my wife and I were like, okay, where did the cat go 2 nights ago? And we had no idea. We were looking for her. I thought maybe she got in the fish room and she was up on one of the racks behind the tanks because she's done that once or twice before. Scared the crud out of me because I could not find her. And she just like hid down because she thought it was so cool to watch the fish from behind. And it's warm and it's up high. So we looked in there. I looked in the dresser where she's climbed up the back of the dresser to get into the drawers before. She wasn't any of her normal tricky hiding spots. And I was like, where the heck, is she? Where is my cat? We looked for an hour and a half. So finally I said, she must have gotten out. She must have gotten out when I took the trash out or something. And, I'm a terrible cat parent. She still has her claws and everything, but she's only been outside on the leash. And when I carry her around to go get the mail or whatever, I'll take her outside and we'll put her in the backyard. And like, she has a little loop of tunnels and playpens. But I mean, she likes this setup so much that she sits in here and takes naps in here on her own now. Now, first we put treats in there and thought like, oh, is she ever going to like this thing? Like, she's probably going to hate it. Well, now she goes in it on her own just because it's like a box or a confined space. But I had put it away in the closet and it was hanging on the like coat hanger rack up off the ground and everything. And she was in the closet, in the utility closet, in the backpack, asleep the other night with all this calling. We put treats out. We did all the things that usually gets her to come when we call her and stuff, and just nothing was working. And that's what it was. She was asleep in there and she was just purring. And when I found her, I was looking to go put a coat on and go outside and it was raining. Well, she was just in there as happy as could be. I can hear her purring and everything. And she was just, like she just came out. But she loves it in there. So, I mean, win for the backpack that my mom got me as like kind of a joke gift, but it was like $30 online. And she's like, well, give it a shot. See if the cat likes it. And, but she loves it. She doesn't so much, she hates being in the car in it. So that's a bummer. But she loves being walked around in it. And she loves just falling asleep in weird little cozy places. But yeah, so Sumi is well, and she's now up to 6 pounds, I believe, 5.5 or 6 pounds. So she's still a tiny kitty, but not the teeny tiny, like 3 pounds that she was for a while there, you know, when we first got her. And when she was, they said she was a 6 to 9 month old cat. And I think she was younger than that. Anyways, long roundabout way, having nothing to do with fish. But I have some big announcements, and that is, I mean, I kind of told some folks, I told some of you in a live stream last time, but I now have an affiliation. I'm now gang affiliated with Imperial Tropicals. And I did a tour there in 2022, I believe. Yeah, I think it was 2022. But I did a tour there, and I've been friends with the folks there, with the manager and the owner, and you know, a lot of the employees for quite some time. And I just never had really thought about doing the affiliate thing. I'd never thought about reaching out. And you know, they actually asked me, they're like, hey, you know, would you like to have an affiliate link? And I was like, yeah, that would be great. And so they set up a deal, I guess, with Aquarium Co-op, which I hadn't known about. But the same week that they did that, they set me up as well. And so you guys are free to use the code Fishtory to get a discount from them. So as it stands right now, though, there's only a 5% discount, which is pretty lame. I know, right, guys? Like, it's kind of like taking sales tax off with stuff in Florida, I guess. But, you know, it's better than nothing. So I'll say that. But what I asked is, right now it's set up so that your first order, you guys get 5% off. And, well, actually any order, but you guys get 5% off. I get a 10% commission minus shipping, minus sales tax, minus the cost, like basically the profit. I get 10% of the profit. And that's all cool. But what I asked for is, can I give the viewers 10% and I get the 5%? Because I feel like 10% is kind of the cutoff in my mind of a code that I will go out of my way and think, yeah, maybe I'll check out what they have. Now, beyond all that, I want to say that I've been recommending Imperial, as well as, you know, boost plants and the wet spot. And with boost plants, I've said I've had some hit and miss luck, but with Imperial, I've never had any problems. I've always had phenomenal you know, customer care and experience from them. And they carry some of the most unique cichlids, especially like domesticated strains. So we're going to look at a couple of those today. But now, just in case you're keeping track, I've kind of backed off from Dan's Fish. I still think Dan's Fish is a great place to buy fish. Way too expensive. But if I have a breeding project or I need a rare wild fish, I still check Dan's. I still think he does like ethically all the right things. And if you have all the money that you could want to throw at fish, that's where I would put my money. Now, that being said, I'm not somebody who makes even like 50 grand a year. So I don't have that freed availability. And so I will, yes, save up for something like, Enigmatochromis, Lucanusi, or Lucanus. It's named after Oliver Lucanus, but Lucanusi. Anyways, beautiful little cichlid, like a crib. Yeah, I would do something like that and pay the $100 and the $60 shipping or whatever. I love how he quarantines things, and I like the ethos of where he came from. But for bang for your buck and quality, now I think Aquatic Arts, Imperial Aquatics, or Tropicals rather, I have 15% off, which is better than anybody out there, because I've been working with them this is going on 9 years. I've been helping curate and pick what they even carry, and talking it out with, you know, are they going to carry Isopods or Springtails, or what trends are in the hobby, you know, talking with their managers and their owners and all sorts of things over the years. And so I'm very integrated with Aquatic Arts, and over the years it's kind of ebbed and flowed, but it's back in a really good spot right now. And I'm really happy with what Aquatic Arts has been up to as far as the quality and their customer service. Now, Moonlight Aquatics is a case where that is a local shop, a guy that I'm friends with in our fish club, and he just gets insanely unusual and incredible fish into moonlightaquatics.com. And he has just about like anything you can imagine from China, Southeast Asia, Borneo, he can get his hands on, and any of the stuff that they're breeding. So like panda loaches, just the last 2 years have been bred in captivity, and he has them like right away. So because of that, even though he brings stuff in and he may not always have the 2-week quarantine and making sure there's a vet on his staff, and his customer service is literally him on his phone while he's running a store and shipping everything, and he has like a couple employees at the store, but he still goes to the airport, imports, deals with the business side of things, you know, cleans the bathroom at the store. Like, he does everything. So I'm not going to say that he's always 100% like gets right back to you and has everything figured out. But Moonlight Aquatics, I can get you 10% more off, and their prices are already usually like half of what I see at like Aquarium Co-op or other places in town. So that's why I, you know, recommend them and have them. So we kind of have different niches for each of these things. And same with like, if you want the top of the line shrimp, rareshrimp.com. I mean, they do auctions and they bring in shrimp every 3 months from Asia. So if you want a shrimp that is literally not in the United States, a brand new color morph of Caridina, or a species that's wild, that's new to science and stuff like that, they have that kind of stuff, and it's always changing. And I have another code with them, Fishtory. And so if you want to use them, that's another place that you can go. But likewise, if you're like most of us, like me, I would buy from someone like Garden of Eder or Shrimp Envy. I think there's plenty of shrimp dealers out there that are fine. I think Flip is all right too. I had a code with them for 5% at one point. Now I would rather have somebody who is smaller and doing things just as well, if not better quality, than a big place. So I want to support the places that have not offloaded tasks to just buying from breeders overseas and things like this. Because in the past, that's led to things like all of a sudden some new disease comes into the hobby, and it's everywhere because it was such a popular, like with Iliobiopsidae in shrimp. And it was, I mean, people had to cull literally millions of the Neocaridina shrimp around the world had to be culled, and like half of a lot of people's shrimp colonies had to be completely destroyed back when we had no idea what was going on with that, and it was so contagious. Also in the early 90s, that went on with angelfish. So while I do have connections like to consolidated aquariums down in Florida, I don't necessarily, you know, they just do angelfish, and I could get an affiliate link from them, but I'm not going to pass that on to you guys because they're completely like wholesale type place. So as I say, all these things are in the description of every live stream, and usually every video I actually have whatever's current. Now, the other thing that's a bummer is that some of my old content is going to have codes or comments where I say, go to this page or go to this link to get this discount. And it may be something that no longer exists, or maybe the company went out of business, or, you know, whatever. Maybe the landing page changed, or they got a new website. That stuff is a bummer because it doesn't age well. Now, there's ways I can consolidate links so that they stay updated. But the problem is codes. I just want either the word Fishtory in all caps or starting with a capital, depending on what they have as software. It kind of makes them do certain things. But usually all caps, Fishtory is what I want to just make the discount code. Some places make it be Fishtory 10 or Fishtory 15. But if you're ever wondering and you're at a place, you can always you know, give it a shot. See if Fishtory in all caps and then 10, that's the most common one now. Aquatic Arts is the only one with 15. But if it still has a Fishtory 10 if you really just want to get 10% off. But yeah, I have that mentality of that there are different places that do a good job at different things. But all of them have fish that I would purchase. My only caveat is really with Moonlight Aquatics in that he imports stuff, and a lot of times it'll be here a week or two, and it's whatever. Maybe he gets it and they do a phenomenal job because it's the same sources like Dan's Fish is, and they do a great job and everything's vetted and all the fish are healthy and all that. They're tank raised, you know. But other times it's like they are, you know, mass fish guppies that are beautiful, but they're like the $30 guppy range. And those are in like little cups that get, you know, sorted, and they get shipped in their own little containers, their own water containers of pairs or of, you know, just a group of males, a group of females. But that water a lot of times gets shared and things like that, or it's just open in, you know, farms and things in Southeast Asia. And so that's the kind of stuff where I think that that's the only caveat is all of this in my mind is miles ahead of like Petco or PetSmart. I would never tell someone new to even get anything from there living. Granted, if you know what you're doing, you have a quarantine tank set up, you know what to look for, and you're willing to wait literally 3 or 4 months, then I would say, yeah, go ahead and go to those stores. You can get some crazy deals. You can find some rare fish as bycatch a lot of times at Petco, PetSmart. But as a whole, they are a really good way to introduce some nasty things to your aquarium that are out there in the big industry, the evil industry in quotes, right? And so I think that that's something that we still need to be careful about. Things like fish TB, things like wasting diseases or prion diseases, or even worse, you know, like viruses that may only affect like neon tetras, for instance. Well, some fish are carriers of that. So you might buy, oh, cool, there's only $8, you know, rams. So I can get a German blue ram for only $8 at Petco, right? And they have balloon body and this and that, whatever, you know, whatever specialty it is, or black rams. One, they're not going to be the same quality lines as somebody who's working intensively with, you know, each day, hands-on, feeding them, giving them live food, checking on them. And places like Imperial Tropicals, go watch my tour. They literally are in there in all of the cichlid, in the case of all the cichlids and all the, you know, larger like kerosins and stuff like that that they offer there, you know, big silver dollars and stuff like that, a lot of them too. And they are in there breeding them. They're collecting eggs. They're rainbow fish. They're collecting eggs, and they're indoors. Even in Florida, it's nice they don't have that big of a heating bill a lot of the year. But they're in rows and rows there, and then they grow out in either these covered like warehouses with ventilation and spring water, like a fresh aquifer water, or they are you know, out in the ponds in the open, like 100-foot by 50-foot, these big ponds that a lot of time will have nets over them to stop birds from eating them and stuff. But you guys can go watch the tour, obviously, of Imperial. They've only since expanded their operation since I was there. They're building a massive new warehouse. I mean, they have some of the best folks, the best, you know, there, a lot of them are just local club members too in Florida, in the Tampa area, in Venice, Florida, also the Spring Hill and Pasco County Fish Club there, the Nature Coast Aquarium Club there, all those places, and the Tampa and also St. Pete clubs, various times. There's been iterations of both. But a lot of those yeah, a lot of those are people that work there, but they're also just passionate about, you know, these fish and tropical fish, and so I think it's a cool place. And what the fact of the matter is, when I went down there, I was the first person to tour Imperial Tropicals when they had basically thrown off the yoke of Seagrest and big wholesalers. So people like Live Aquaria, Seagrest, they used to supply like the entire country, like Walmart or you know, various places that used to, like even places like Fred Meyer or Menards or things like that would have like a section with a little bit of like, you know, 12 types of fish maybe or something, or goldfish and a few other things. And then obviously there used to be some bigger sections depending on the store where they'd actually have full that. And then there's also Petco, PetSmart, and sometimes they have dozens of species, you know, up to 100 species or so. Other times they have like, you know, very little in their store. But depending on where you're at, sometimes it's a lot. And they source their stuff mostly from those big suppliers. And so since there's 2,400 pet co's and there's 1,500 PetSmarts or whatever, that's a lot of fish. And a lot of local stores will also source their, you know, breeding guppies, like feeder fish, things like that. They'll source from those big places. And those are places that they used to dictate everything that went on in the Florida farming community. So Imperial has been there since the 60s when Mike's father was a farmer of fish, and he was raising angelfish and guppies and mollies and platies and stuff like that. And you know, Mike then came in and he started, you know, breeding everything from discus to geos and rare, like all sorts of rarer stuff and rainbow fish and things like that, and bringing those even outside year round with special cloths and using new technology that has been used all around the world, but also, you know, it's been used in Israel and in the Czech Republic and Poland and Germany. But, you know, he was there to innovate and to come up with new ways to raise new things. And he actually brought experts over that were into just breeding a certain, you know, rainbow fish or whatever. And they were the person in charge of, you know, 20 or 30 strains that may not be in the hobby anywhere else. Well, when it used to be that Seagrest would say, okay, over at Imperial, you guys are going to grow us the furcata or the fork-tail rainbow fish, the little yellow guys that are easy to breed, lots of spawning mop eggs. You just take the eggs and then, you know, let them hatch and then raise them up in like 2 or 3 week shifts. Well, we need those grown out and fully grown. So that's a 6-month project, even in ponds or indoor vats. And we're going to want 50,000 of those for our order. And we will pay you $100,000 if you can bring us that. I'm just making up numbers here, okay? So then what started to happen, though, is demand would go down, or stores wouldn't order or didn't want the amount that was planned for. And so it may be that they only bought 50,000 of the things or 20,000 of the things. And all of a sudden there's no money to buy the rest. And even though they planned and they fed them, they grew them out, they used up that space and energy, they had a deal saying they couldn't sell them off to anyone else because Seagrest, you know, guaranteed them top dollar kind of thing, which wasn't really top dollar anymore. And so this was kind of the dynamic of the last 180 farms that were in the US, and 172 of them or whatever were in Florida. So they really were concentrated in mostly central and southern Florida. And now I think the licenses are down to 150 active farms in the US. And that's everything from like Gilead Farms over to Consolidated, 5D, Imperial, Seagrass still counts as a family farm, even though they really source from other people. But what Imperial did was they said, you know what? I'm going to start growing out however many fork-tail rainbow fish I feel like, and I'm going to put them online for maybe double or triple the price that Seagrass used to give me. But I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to put them in the right shipping stuff, and I'm going to ship them out direct to customers. So basically, they cut out the middleman because the internet allowed for it. And they were one of the first people to kind of turn, and basically they were told, like, this is it. Like, you're, you don't get access to breed stock. You don't get access to the co-op food, or, all this stuff that they kind of had built up as resources, which at that point weren't that great anyways. But anyways, Imperial breaks away. 5D breaks away. Who else was it? Why can't I think of his name? Andre from, anyways, there were at least half a dozen places broke away in the year that Imperial did so, and then these others followed. And he was the first real success of a farm where they're growing the fish in America and not just flipping and shipping, which, yes, there are places like Aquatic Arts where they try to breed some, they try to buy from some local breeders, and that's like why I support them. But then there are others that are just transshippers, like Arizona Gardens or Live Aquaria. These are places that I won't recommend people buy from ever. Maybe if you really, really know what to do with sick fish, with like very ill fish with bad genetics, maybe then. Bioaquatics. Thank you so much, Chevy Fish. I appreciate it. And I see all y'all. Let me run through there. I've been so busy saying all this stuff, getting you guys kind of caught up on what's going on over here. And also, I realized that I haven't been making a ton of content, obviously, like a short form or medium form, 10, 15-minute content. It has to do with the editing, and it's obviously my fault. I'm the only one to blame. But I've come up with ideas, and I think, oh, that would make a great, topic. And then I'm like, well, I could make a short about that. And then I think, no, I'm going to get, and I write an outline, and I come up with ideas, and I film things, and I get B-roll, and I contact 4 or 5 people, and I say, okay, I think I'm going to be doing a countdown. So I need, can I borrow footage of this fish, that fish? And sometimes I can't get the email, or nobody responds, and I'm like waiting and trying to hear back, and I don't know where to go film. So it's this or that fish. Whereas at one point I had 32 tanks. I could kind of get a lot of footage from the fish that I had, as far as I could select something for a species spotlight. Well, now it's getting harder in that, I want to constantly, I've set the bar for myself in our videos. And I know a lot of you who are my friends and who have been here a long time are like, it's okay, we don't mind, just read us the new studies and news updates and stuff, and it doesn't need to be edited well. It can just be kind of off the cuff, and that's fine for some. But there is kind of like a standard. It's been kind of a Pandora's box of like, once you start editing, and like with my editing, I've tried to, any video I edit, every 12 seconds at max, the scene changes. It's something dynamic. I try to have something coming in, phasing out, whether it's just text or whether it's a fact or whether it's something adjacent. I really have been trying to pack all the things I post for the last 2 or 3 years, honestly, with as much info as possible. But it takes me literally 3 or 4 times longer to do that. And I wish I could hire an editor. A lot of people have reached out to me and said, hey, I'll be an editor. I only need a couple $100 per video or whatever. And I'm like, I don't make that, brother. I make, like $15 to $50 on an average 10-minute video in a year. I used to just post 3 times a week. And so when they weren't that edited, there was a large number of nerdy folks who would watch, right? Like, and I thank you so much. But since I started editing videos like that with any pieces of stuff I could find and just, background in between, it's not just a picture of me sitting there talking, it's fish. The channel grew, if you didn't notice, from 50,000 to 100,000. Granted, the money didn't grow proportionally whatsoever. So what my hope had been was that I could hire the editor when supposedly, my money increased with the better quality videos. But it so far hasn't really scaled. I don't know if it's the economy. I don't know if it's the channel or whatever it is. Also we're down on a few things like subscriptions, but that's obvious because I haven't been, here twice a week, 3 times a week live for several hours, and I haven't been posting, basically 5 to 6 times a week like I was. And I'm torn because I've become a bit of a perfectionist over all of this. Even though that doesn't mean that the product is anywhere near perfect. I'm just saying, to me, I have now a level of editing and like I need, for example, if I'm talking about an article where they're using Danios and they're talking about how they genetically crossed a Danio gene with something that glows in the dark from a sea sponge. Well, I want a picture of the sea sponge. I want a picture of the Danio. I want video, if I can find it, of something similar, if not from that study. And doing all of that really does take like an extreme amount of time, to the point where like it takes me 7 to 8 days in between videos to do all of that. And then sometimes, though, you feel like someone else already made a video that nailed it, or you feel like, oh man, this subject isn't that interesting, or I don't know. Sometimes you start to second guess yourself, and that's been part of the struggle of what I've been dealing with in my own head. So I wanted to share that with you a little bit too. But I think I'll get back to a place. A lot of it has just been health and also feeling run down. You feel like you only have so much energy when you're dealing with chronic illness, and then like this year-long injury to my foot is finally, knock on wood, hasn't been infected in, I don't know, 6 months. I'm hopefully going to travel to AGA for the first time traveling again in a year and a half. And so big changes, all that's great. And it's like I've been shuttered in this house, and I've hit a wall with what I can do physically, and it's been a hard adjustment, obviously, but I'm feeling optimistic. I can't reiterate how much I appreciate all of y'all. And I have to tell you, have faith that I have been talking to other experts in the fish field. So everyone from this deal I made with Imperial, and hopefully I can get you guys even a bigger discount, to, things like talking to Flick Ford, who's a guy who's illustrated some of the most incredible fish and anatomical, biological illustrations for like, Life, the Journal of Life, or the American Medical Association, or American AMA, or the New England Journal of Medicine. He does like the whole anatomical, like, muscles and tendons and stuff. Super, super incredible work that he does. A lot of renderings of like what a dinosaur, or what a pre-human hominid may look like. Things like that, where he reconstructs from the bone to the muscle, and then sketches all of that in layers until he gets to the top, and then he makes choices with like patterns and fur or skin or scales or whatever on the animal. So talking with people like that, talking with experts like Ivan McColgy and our nonprofit, we're still working with that. That's been an absolute insane, crazy time. Ivan is in Valencia, which, yes, it's a 2-hour drive because there are bridges that are broken and things, but it's like 40 kilometers from Caracas. It's very close, especially from the suburbs. And so absolutely insane what has gone on there. But he said that nothing has changed in Venezuela. The same dictator government is still in control. They just got rid of the face of the government. But before that, it was Chavez, he said. So he can't talk much about it on the phone. The time I can talk to him on the phone, even, he clearly is not free to speak. And I am hoping that he's able to come to the AGA. I'm hopeful that he is, remains safe and everything. But there's things like rolling blackouts, the power goes out, the military comes door to door. Like the way he called me was he got a satellite phone and was able to use that. It could hook up to, you could use it as a hotspot basically to run a few computers and stuff that a neighbor who's like a general or something was able to get a hold of. So it's tenuous, and like I can't send money to him PayPal wise because it's in Venezuela, right? It would be like a felony or probably an international war crime or whatever when they have laws in place. But it's all changing like by the moment. So now it's like, oh, it's okay to send money. So go ahead. No, just kidding. Not today. So our nonprofit is probably going to be set up in like the Cayman Islands. It's set up in the US for US tax purposes, but it also exists as other entities. So we can pay people in Venezuela for the diamond tetra rewilding that we're doing. We're most of the way through that project in the sense that we found the wild tetra genetics. We've got them breeding. We have a good source of them. They're now at the Natural History Museum of Valencia. They're also at the Aquarium, the National Aquarium of Venezuela. And they're also in a private collection among 3 people at least now that are breeding them to spread basically amongst others. So it has come back from the brink of only existing in a few little creeks and ditches in 2006 to nowhere wild for the last 15 years. And now we have some of the genetics confirmed to be from the same as the samples that are in the archives. Also, the study of looking at the locations where these fish were and doing things like the biomass. Is there room for these fish now? Like, can they even survive if we reintroduce them, since they were all wiped out in 87 and new fish have come in, invasive fish have come in, invasive plants have come in. They put in an oil pipeline, and then, what were the impacts of that? So we had to do environmental impact study after environmental impact study by Western standards if we ever want to publish this work and not just have it be something that was done in Venezuela, kind of on the DL and unofficially. And Ivan and I decided that we want this to be an example of things to come. So we're doing it by US or, British or whatever you want to say, French, German, Japanese, Western style standards, modern country standards of and practices. But we still have to pay the ichthyologists, the biologists, the people on the ground to do these things. And now we are basically good to go on most things, other than we need a team there and we need to know that the sites are secure. But right now, the sites, we have no idea, one, who the government is for sure, if they're going to stay stable. But 2, all the permits for all that to release and all that, the people who do that, it's not clear if their authority stands or not. And then beyond that, Ivan and I, we picked the location we picked because of all the spots. There's an oil pipeline that was capped, and basically nothing's been done since 1978 in this area. Because one, it made bad quality oil. 2, it made very little oil, low pressure. They had to pump very hard to get very low quality oil out. and it's in the mountains and has to go over mountains and stuff to get on the pipeline to get out of there, or they would have to, you know, put it on a truck and get it out each day at about 5 barrels of oil a day from the spot that we were looking at, which is just not worth it for that grade of stuff. So anyways, long story short, it's ironic that this oil pipeline and this oil drilling field that was preserved and fenced off became a nature preserve since 1978 because nobody's been in there. They have armed guards at the chain link fence in the road, but that's how these fish have been saved, essentially, or how this ecology that is identical to the way it used to be at this one spot that I can't even say like where it is, but it's near enough to Lake Valencia. It's in the same basin that literally now we can just use this lake, and it's basically an exact analog of the other few satellite lakes and swamps that used to be kind of flooded forest part of the year, and it expands, and then a lake for the whole year, and then there's creeks that go back down to Lake Valencia. Well, it's all protected and guarded. And so right now, everything's even more guarded. That's what, so Ivan was able to go to a new place that he had never been before. And he went to a place called the Blue Potholes in Venezuela. And it's a spot that's not even on the maps or anything. It's in a national forest, essentially like a preserve of land. It doesn't mean people haven't logged there. In fact, there's people living there and ranching with cattle in this kind of jungly scrub. It's more of like a savanna kind of area. It's on the more Guianan Shield and mountainous side of things. But he went there and he showed me some pictures, and they are these crystal blue holes in the ground out in this mountainous jungly terrain. Like it goes from like cloud forest to kind of open savanna, and it's just a little cooler than the rainforest and not as forested as that because of the elevation and because of the rain shadow it gets from all the mountains there. But he was able to film there, and there were tetras, and he said they were so hungry that they were picking at his skin to the point where like these little tetras, like, you know, Pristilla tetras and kitty tetras, reed tetras, those kind of things, were literally those little tetras that don't even have teeth or anything, were so hungry that they wanted the dead skin that they were like sucking on his skin. And he said there were a few wolffish in the water too there, the cichlids. And they were hunting all these little fish that were on him, eating dead skin or sunscreen or whatever it was on him while he was filming and trying to get video. And he said that he kept feeling this like literal, like it'd feel like someone hit him, like not hard, but like a thunk in the head or in the side or, you know, whatever. And then he'd get like a nip that would leave a little half circle that looks like, you know, if you bite yourself like a kid, you know, not biting too hard, but kind of joking around or whatever, like what a little bite would look like. He had them all over because the wolffish were eating the other fish, and they were coming in to eat like 3 or 4 off of him and just literally plowing into him while he's taking pictures. He said it was so distracting and so crazy that he'd never seen anything like it that he just decided, oh, I got to get out of here. And he started filming with like the selfie stick type method from the edge, but he had to hike in, he had to lower his gear down on ropes. So I'm really excited for you guys to see all this. So all this stuff is things that I am in the works of, like getting together, hearing the story of, putting it in, you know, the back of my mind. I've been also working on helping 2 people publish books and doing like, you know, kind of proofreading, and also putting in my 2 cents about like, oh, you might want to check with a limnologist if that's the right way to say that, or, oh, maybe you can get a hold of someone who knows pike cichlids a little better, stuff like that. But in the meantime, I will also be getting 2 new books in the mail. And so guys, after I'm done in a second here, we'll look at some of the Imperial aquatics or Imperial tropicals fish, because some of them are really incredible. But I was gonna say the book projects and stuff. One that I'm really excited that just got finished. We have a book coming that is it's coming from the Netherlands, and I'll announce more about it later. We're gonna have a deal for the channel. I got the author to agree that even though it's like a limited edition print, and I paid, you guys are gonna think I'm insane, but I paid $140 to get this thing. It was like 105 euros, but then shipping and it's not going to be that for you guys, but that's what I was willing to pay to get my hands on this. But it's the all the fish of equatorial West Africa, from Cameroon and like Guinea. And so it's got 870 species of like all the collection points in Cameroon of Crebensis and Enigmatochromis, all the little like Congochromis and buffalo head cichlids and interesting little nanostone or Nanochromis, and all of that, all the way to like fire barbs and butterfly barbs and amber barbs and tilapia, full color, 900 pictures, 460 pages. It's a honking, big book. So I'm excited. I don't know if that's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks till that arrives, but it's coming from the Netherlands, signed copy, first edition. And I'm going to have that, so we'll flip through it. We'll do like a review. I'll probably do a video on it. And then I'll have a landing page that the author created just for you guys. That's like Fishtory's the code. You guys get a deal on it. And yeah, so, but I paid for the book up front, and then I was like, can I maybe get a deal for my viewers? And he's like, you know what? If 20 of your viewers buy it, I'll refund your amount. So I'm just trying to be totally transparent, but it's really not about that. Like, I just thought this is a killer book, and I am willing to spend that kind of money. When somebody spends their life, an ichthyologist or something, obsessed with a country or a region or, a genus, or even just like a group of fish, like all the tetras or something, and they come out with a really good book. I mean, I'm going to have to read through it and tell you guys if it's a really good book, but I've seen some of the pages, obviously, and it looks really incredible. Also, I have already looked through Ivan's entire book. I have read through Ivan's entire book. I have helped him with thinking of like what to talk about and what to sense, like what to edit down, par down, what to talk more about, like what as an aquarist, what interests me, as a botanist, what interests the other people like Tom Barr that he's talked to, So he's invited all these other people to work on things. So I'm very honored that he would call and ask, what I thought, and sit there for a few hours going through the entire thick book, just like his Orinoco fish book. This one is the aquatic plants of the Orinoco, or basically the upper Amazon, all the plants that live on the edge of the water. And it's absolutely beautiful. And it's a little different in that it's very personal. His life growing up for 50 years in Venezuela. He lived in New York for a time when he was in college, and when he was a teenager in like a prep school his dad sent him to. But he is, just turned 50 a couple years ago, and a lot of his life has been in Venezuela, most of his life. And he understands the seasons, and he's been filming for 30 years, taking pictures, taking video of the Orinoco and exploring the Orinoco. And like, he just intuitively knows things like, oh, that plant, I don't know what it's called, but it always grows on the west side of the river. If there's no western exposure, on the river, it won't be around. So don't even bother looking, or this plant always grows with this plant, or that vine only grows around those kind of trees, stuff like that. That later he then went to botanists and went to ecologists, biologists at universities and in the US. And now for 5 years, he's been working on this book. But he's got these really fascinating stories about, like, oh, this plant will end up strangling this tree, which makes nuts. And the nuts and fruits from the tree, the only way they're released, because otherwise it needs to be like a large bird with a sharp beak that eats these nuts, digests them, and then the seeds sprout from the waste. Well, the only other way that they become spread around is that this vine seeks out water. Like its roots need to be in the water, but then it needs to climb up the tree, and it finds the flowers and the nuts, and it literally strangles them so tight that it cuts off the nutrients to that, and the part of the tree that's holding on to the fruit and the nut dies, and so it drops down into the water. So then it becomes soggy and rotten, and bacteria and stuff break it down in the river, and that becomes tannins and all this other stuff. And there's all these fish like pacu, as the piranha-like fish with human teeth, that eat it. And so it's really fascinating stuff, super cool. And he has these stories that he tells. Also plants growing out of rock, like a plant growing out of rock. And it's like, is it anchored in the rock and just living off of the air like an epiphytic plant? Or in the case of like where he goes to the Guianan Shield and the karst formations, no, it's using sulfur, and it's using the elements in the rock. It's a lithic plant, a plant that uses some of, or teams up with bacteria or fungi to actually break down. It's like a primary colonizer. Now, usually primary colonizers are lichen, moss, bladderwort, liverwort, stuff like that, pond scum, algae that just grows on a rock. And over time that builds up, it breaks down, it dies, fungus grows, bacteria grows, springtails come in, little isopods come in, they eat that stuff, they poop, they eat, they die. It decomposes, their exoskeletons are there, bigger creatures like frogs and things come in, then they die, and you get this layer of soil forming over the bedrock, right? And all that has to happen everywhere in the jungle where water has washed away, where the river has a new pathway. But it's absolutely amazing in this new book of his to see, like, where he knows, like, this tree only grows where it's been wiped clear to the bedrock, and that tree can actually feed off the bedrock. There's really fascinating plants that are just not in the aquarium hobby that he explores there. And so he's got this plan of 5 books, and this is the second in the series. And at this rate, he's never going to get them done, but they are amazing books. So guys, I'm looking in the chat. Hello, Chevy Fish. And thank you so much, Chevy, for all your help here, just shouting out discount codes and stuff like that. I really do appreciate it. I do. Dagmar, hello. Hit that like button. Yeah, reminding folks, if you can do that, I do appreciate it. I do. Tells folks it's worthwhile. If it's not, then why are you here? Also, good to see you, buddy. Beast from the East 93. Mick, good to see you. We got a lot of the European folks in here right now. Monster Fish Gal, what's going on? Good to see you, Lord. Aquarium Boss Canada, what's up? Who else is in here hanging out with us? I don't know. There's probably people hiding. There's obviously lurkers. USMC, Tim's Shrimp Tanks, Pepper Step, good to see you. I did see your comment. I don't know anything about editing, but I can learn and help for free. Well, thank you so much. If you want to do that, I mean, that's all you. Or if you're trying to build up a portfolio, you want to help me edit stuff, go to one of my live streams that you find interesting where I talk about something and go off the rails, and literally just edit like a 2 or 3 minute video of what I said that was interesting or educational, but just edit some visuals over what I'm saying, you know? That would be a big help, and I could make that a short. And I've already told people that have offered to edit for me, if someone wants to do that and they edit me a video of me from a live stream where I'm going off passionately about something, you can cut me out of it and make it just the horizontal, you know, they've all got to be that, the shorts all have to be in that dumb profile portrait mode, 16:9. But if you want to do that, and then I can post it, you know, if you want to post it somewhere, like upload an edited version that's anywhere from 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, it can go, I think 3 minutes is the max for YouTube. But then I will happily, if we have an arrangement, you email me or whatever, I will happily give you all the money it makes, and I'll give you a screenshot of the back end of things on the video, and that helps because then it links to the longer form content, so people can go watch the live stream, where they can go watch a related video. So maybe I'm talking about scuds, and then I can link that short to my video on scuds or something like that. Because right now I have 2,000 videos, and part of me is just thinking, man, I wish I could redo some of these, but they're sitting on enough views that they already have this momentum that people are watching them. And it's not that they're bad videos a lot of times. They're fine in the information, but boy, would I rather have that video edited slick or edited with, you know, updated video examples of things, where at the time I'm just in my fish room kind of pointing at tanks, and there's like, oh, I guess I can kind of see one of the scuds. Whereas now I have, you know, B-roll for an hour on a hard drive of scuds eating moss, scuds doing this, scuds doing that, scuds doing aerobics, scuds doing scudding scud. You know, joy of fish keeping, good to see you lurking, hanging out. Yep, Pepper Step, see ya. We'll do that. Didn't want to do it without permission. Yo, yeah, don't worry about it. All my stuff is free to remix as well too. Just link to my channel and is all I ask. Even if you're like posting my videos on your channel, if you're trying to do that or whatnot, just, you know, make it clear that you didn't create it. If it's a longer form thing. But if it's a review of my stuff, or you just say, hey, this is interesting, I wanted to share this, and you're doing a live stream, I am not the kind of person who copyright claims people unless they're just blatantly trying to make money without doing any work and trying to take what I'm putting out there in hopes of it being educational and simply me getting by to pay for me to exist. Like, I don't need that much money. I have an incredibly supportive wife, you know, but I gotta eat. I got medical bills, this and that. But like, you know, I can exist for a lot less than, say, I would need to in other circumstances, just to keep this going, because it is my life's passion to keep this channel and fish related education and the side projects I do. You know, I pick up graphic design gigs on the side, or grow plants and sell fish and this and that. That'll all come back into full effect as my health returns. It's just been so sad that it's it's taking so long. Yeah. But yeah, if you need to email me, if you didn't know, it's Alexander J as in Joseph or jet plane, Williamson. Yeah, I'm jet plane Williamson. No, Alexander J Williamson at gmail.com. Or you can get at me on Facebook in the messages, or in the group, our community group, or on Discord, or, you know, a lot of times on YouTube too. You can get a hold of me pretty quickly. So yeah. Let's see here. Charles, let's see. Hey guy, would crush mystery snails be good for larger fish and chickens? I would say chickens will definitely eat like slugs and snails, and they'd be fine with it. Yeah. I don't know for other fish always. Snails are a vector for a lot of disease, but they also just carry a lot of goo, like fish, like biofilm and slime and, kind of stuff that fish seem to spit out, honestly. But there are fish like gudgeons, gobies, certain shell dwellers, and also obviously things like pufferfish that specialize in eating snails. And if you crack them open, it's all the better. Like that's their only barrier to entry a lot of times. Like a lot of fish, if you smush a snail, a lot of fish, even guppies and live bears and little tetras and stuff, they'll come down and they'll take a look. But a lot of times you'll notice, one, they either can't eat the foot muscle, or two, they don't eat the dark digested stuff because it's just like mulm and kind of gross to them, I think. But there are exceptions to that. Geos sometimes will do that too. They'll and catfish a lot of times will also eat crushed snails. But as I said, be aware that that can make it like a vector for disease. Asha, good to see you. Low Tech Aquarium, why is he waving his hands around so much today to avoid falling asleep? Hello, Low Tech Aquarium. Snails are a vector for a lot of disease. Just exactly as you said. Tim Shrimp Tank just made a DIY snail trap last night. Pond snails and some of the ram's horn snails are taking over. Yeah, they can do that. That's for sure. Usually, it means overfeeding, but sometimes they just will do that when you got just the right algae or just the right surface area. They just really will, have a lot of babies sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I think we can figure that out, depending on your tank, and also you don't want to smush too many snails because it will rot and become ammonia. Also, you just don't want that much stuff. Something that the planted tank and the low tech tank world, the filterless tank world, something that I wish I could go back and say in most of my videos is that yes, ammonia, nitrates, you can get those to be in balance so that it's never a problem. They're never going to go over. You're always running a deficit. Your plants are just loving it and your fish are at zero. And a lot of people don't even worry about that. They say, I don't care about nitrates. They're not going to ever kill fish. Nitrates, yeah, they don't tend to have an amount that here's the cutoff and it kills fish. They tend to be a very kind of wishy-washy, like, yeah, it's not great to have them that high. They stress fish out over time slowly. It's kind of like we don't know exactly where the problem begins, but different people say different things. So me, I like to keep it as low as possible because even at 10 or 20 parts per million, they begin to show increased cortisol stress and stuff like that. But some people keep it at 100, 200, and that's fine. I've just found also that breeding nanofish and rare fish, oddball fish, a lot of them will not breed when they're in a tank with nitrates. Now, is it the nitrates that's causing them to not breed? Or is it the fact that the other fish are stressed and releasing cortisol? Because they've proven in a lot of research that cortisol released, just like humans have cortisol, fish have different stress hormones, but cortisol is a big one. And when fish release cortisol, it's like a signal that there is, danger, or that their body has been working overtime to process toxins, or that they are at a deficit of some nutrients. Or they're healing from an injury. It's never a good sign, really. Cortisols, it's a good sign that they're not dying without their body helping fight back. But other than that, cortisols build up just like other things build up in the water. And yes, they degrade and they break down because they're organic, molecules, but they do have an impact. And that's why, like, you can take aquarium water from a tank of angelfish that are spawning. You can take something like a half gallon of their water, put it in a 10-gallon tank of Corridoras, and maybe those 9 Corridoras in your little 10-gallon side tank, you've been feeding them high protein food and they're on sand or whatever, and you see them doing that dance where they're going up the glass and kind of shimmying and they're making the T shape, and you think, man, they just won't lay eggs. I wonder what's going on. Well, a lot of times you take some water from angelfish or pleco or other cories or whatever it may be, any of these fish that lay eggs, and you'll find that in other successful breeding areas, that will trigger them to spawn. And they've shown that things like, estrogen, testosterone, these have different roles as well. And it may be too hard to say if A, then B, like add this much testosterone to get this result, right? But it is clear that in nature there are these signs when it's kind of like in Fantasia, when spring is happening and it's and all the plants are growing and the sunlight comes back and the frost melts, ice melts. It's like all these signs in nature, all the wet season has come, and this is breeding and that is breeding, and they leave these chemical traces, and these fish have evolved with them, especially to say, oh, well, that's also, it's not just light, it's not just the total dissolved solids or my diet, the amount of protein, it's also the low stress, it's the clean water, it's the oxygenation, it's the fresh rain, the ozone, the thunderstorm, like all of it can play a role. And so you can use these tricks to spark spawning and things like that. And I think that's so fascinating and fun to think about what it is that triggers that. All right, let's see here. Fish Dad says, Fishtory, when trying to breed in the orange or yellow eye gene, should the mother or father have the orange or yellow eye, or doesn't matter? So that is going to be a recessive, but it's a singular recessive gene. So it's not like co-dominant or co-recessive. It's no weirdness like that where you have, 4 alleles to worry about on a Punnett square. It's really just when you get the trait you're looking for in the eye, you got to find another one with that set of eyes, basically, or you got to have that one separated so there's only one. If it's a female, you could use whatever male, but if it's a male, you only keep that male, no other males, with some females that are the right color in the body or whatever, but they don't have orange eyes. Well, then their babies, 1/4 will have the ability to carry that gene in secret. So by the time, and you won't know which one, so you'd have to grow out that whole generation. So really having a male and female with the eyes you want is like a godsend for breeders. It is hitting the jackpot because you don't have to worry about all that. But you can understand how Punnett squares work and how genes work. Sorry guys, I got like some sort of rash coming out on my forehead, of course. When do I not have something like that going on? But yeah, and that will pass on their genes in a predictable fashion of, say it's lowercase a, and the gene for black normal shrimp eyes is uppercase A, and they're either A2 uppercase A, or an uppercase and a lower, or 2 lower. Well, you're not going to get the 2 lowers in any of those babies, but you will get the upper and the lower in 25%. Then the next generation, if you breed those 25% with each other, but again, you don't know who's who, then you can get up to 50% with the gene. And then if you cross those together, that's when there's a chance of 25% of them will have the eyes you want. But that takes 3 to 4 generations out, and you would need to technically, if you really wanted to do it right, you'd have to put each male in, or each female in their own tank if it's a female with the eyes you want, and only let them breed with one male, and then keep track of what male that was. That way, if their babies show the gene, then you can follow back, So it becomes like, I need 16 tanks just for this one gene to follow it, if you really wanted to do that. Now, most people don't. And so what they'll do is they'll just have one that has the gene expressed. They'll put that in a tank. They'll let it breed with another one. Then they'll take all the babies out once they have babies. And then those babies, they will not let those babies spawn with each other. They'll take one female baby and they'll put it with that orange-eyed original generation male or whatever, so that they know they have the recessive and a chance of a recessive. And then, a week later, they put it in, whenever it gets buried up, then they put it in the other tank with another female from that generation. And hopefully one of those females will have it, but it's not tied to gender, sex, whatever. In shrimp, it is an independent gene of the eyes. So yeah. Oh, was there a super chat that I missed? Let's see here. Oh, thank you so much. Beast from the East. Thank you, buddy. I do appreciate it. I do. Thank you for the DK, for the Denmark money, the Danish kroners. I'll take them all day long. I'll make it rain. 6 pence coins on my head. Thank you, though. I do appreciate it. Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the world go around. To be honest, so easy to believe everybody else got the same situation as yourself when typing, but that's not always the case. Thinking of Blind Fish Keeper and others. Yeah, definitely. There are several of the what do you call it? Blind fish aficionados out there now, I've noticed. Blind Fish Keeper, though, only has one tank at the moment, last I talked to him, just because it became too untenable. Okay, hold on. Elf Puncher. Gosh, I love that name. Any idea what the best water purifying / cat safe house plant for overflowing out of the tank is? Anything that grows quick. So, pothos, stuff like that grows quick is the best at eating nitrates, ammonia. But is it cat safe? I don't know that off the top of my head right now. I don't remember what's what. But I grow Anubias, and my cat chews that. She's fine. She doesn't like the taste of it. Like, she'll chew on it because she likes the texture, and then she goes. But she's done her damage once she's done that. But for some reason, I feel like, maybe pothos isn't the best thing for for cats. But there's bamboo, there's peace lily, there's all sorts of stuff out there. And can anything be cat proof, says the Fish Witch. That's funny. And I like your name too, by the way. Also, Lisa the Wolf, got any thoughts on how rosy barbs might do in a 55-gallon with 2 Shabunkin goldfish that are each around 8 inches long? Would that be a cuckoo banana pants thing to do to the rosy barbs? Gold barbs, rosy barbs, they definitely get big enough that they could be around those things. The problem is your goldfish are gonna eat whatever they can. Now, depending on how hardcore, like, of a veiled tail or a bent tail or bifurcation there is, or if there isn't one, depending on the exact style of fish you have, or how long the fins are on the pectoral fins, your goldfish might not be quick enough to get them. And that's probably the case, actually, unless you have like a comet fish or like a lot of the koi and stuff. In a 55, they've got room to turn around and circle back. But as long as you have like some, and I'm guessing plants, maybe you only have fake plants or only really tough plants like Anubias and maybe Amazon sword or something, because goldfish, again, they will eat all your plants too. But you could also make rock hides or have a big old piece of wood that maybe is hollow cholla wood, or just a nice log that has a hollow center, if you can find that. I know that's difficult to be like, oh yeah, I'll just find one. But yeah, you can put them in there. And I think they'll be okay. It may be good to try like 6 first. They're not that expensive, and I know that sounds mean, but like they're not that expensive. So I think you could probably try it out with like 6 or 7 and see how they do, see what your fish are like. If you don't know their aggression level, then it's hard to know where to start. But another great alternative, dojo loaches, even though they do get like pretty big, like 10 to 12 inches, they're a great addition to a goldfish tank. You can get like the high fin Peroon shark things, catfish, or I don't know what they're categorized as. Loach, I don't know what they are. They get big though. Those get big, but they're a cooler water species also, just in case, if that's like the driving factor for why you have the goldfish. But there's things out there. White cloud minnows, I've seen people put those with goldfish. The thing also is that goldfish, can handle quite a diversity of water, but a lot of barbs like neutral water, maybe slightly acidic or slightly alkaline, depending on the exact barb. But barbs tend to also have a little more spunk, a little more nippiness to them than, say, a tetra or or something like a rasbora or a little tiny nanofish of most sorts. And obviously, too small of a nanofish, anything like an inch or under, your fish is probably going to eat. Your goldfish is going to eat it at 8 inches. But I think you can give that a shot. And then low tech aquarium. Are you afraid to stop speaking? Yes. 1 hour of not exhaling single breath for a bot audience is insane amount of work, or is an insane amount of work for a bot audience. Yeah, so apparently low tech aquarium has some sort of little problem here. I don't know what's going on with him. 90% of my Bosemani rainbow fry are female. Of about 40 fish, is there? Yes. So there is. Great question, Sean. And there is in a lot of species, but we know that for sure in rainbow and in live bears, some cichlids as well. That usually the hotter temperatures, it's not always this way, but usually the hotter temperatures lead to more males being born. I don't know why that is. There's different theories of like that when it's too hot, it's not going to be a good year. And so fertility doesn't matter as much. So there's more males born, and in the hopes that those males are more daring and they go out, and then the best of the males get basically pared down, and the females don't need to be as numerous because it's going to be a bad year for spawning anyways. That's like one idea. And then there's the complete opposite, which is like, well, no, then there should be more females because like females make all the babies or hold all the eggs, so why wouldn't there be more of them? But there's arguments on both sides of it for different reasons, depending on where they're from. Because in some places, a hot year means good things for, fish, and other places that mean bad things because it's already too warm and oxygen is poor in the water and yada, yada, yada. But you might want to Google that, like what, Bosemani rainbow fish, sex selection via temperature. You could go to google.com, then go to So go to Google and then type in the word scholar, and then that'll pop up with the first result will be Google Scholar. And if you search temperature selection in fish for or sex determination due to temperature, or something along those lines, you can probably find some articles that might be relevant, that are actual research articles that like have something interesting and true to say. Now, granted, it may be that you find one for pseudomagills or one for guppies, and you have to start there. And if you can keep track of what temperature it was when yours spawned, that you got all the males versus all the females, because you'll be able to figure it out soon enough. But yeah, that's interesting. If it happens again, and you tend to keep your tank at 86 or something, take it down to 78 and see if you get all males that time, or if it's half and half. Let's see here. Michelle Barnell, hello. Fish Dad, thank you. On that note, I'll buy another orange eye color. Oh, right on. Yeah. Yeah, Aquatic Arts actually had a deal last week running still, and you get 15% off if you want to use my code. They're kind of like bad grade. Really, all you need is the eye gene. So don't worry about the color of the shrimp body as much. Worry about that eye color. Because that should breed true once it hits that same gene. Now, the problem is that there are like the orange eye demon gene from Michael Hessler in Germany. That's one gene that came from green wild neocardinas, right? And that gene is different than the yellow morph that like Aquatic Arts has. So you kind of have to trace back whose morph it was. But as long as they have a population with that eye color, and they could be snowball, they could be blue, they could be red, whatever, that eye color should transfer in neocardinas to any color of body. So really what you're working with is get yourself a population that has the eyes in the right color. Once they have those color eyes, that they have both genes are going to be recessive in the eyes. So you're going to have a dual recessive gene, and they both are going to have the yellow or orange or whatever it is. White is another color. Purple's another color that's out there that nobody's really selected for. But I, for a while, had some purple eye shrimp that I liked. But that will come and stay, and then you can cross in really good quality blue or green or whatever it is that you want to make. But a lot of times it's harder to get that eye gene into a population, and so that you've got males and females with it so that they can cross. And then you can do a male that's blue without the eyes. And then you can kind of track, though, okay, well, I need to use another female with those eyes the next generation. Or I'm going to breed some males and some females in 2 tanks from the parent population that all have yellow eyes, So I hope that helps. Let's see here. When babies get sleepy, their blinking slows down, which can lead to dry, irritated eyes, rubbing eyelids. Okay, I don't know what any of that is. Tested water my cats by getting a few plants, one being Monstera. They leave it alone and only chew on the non-toxic ones. Oh, nice. Well, that's good. Mine are, or my cat, look at her cuteness. Look, I told you she loves this backpack. She's just asleep. Here's the door to the backpack. Hi, backpack door. And she's in here asleep. You silly little goober. I love you. She's just in her little bubble, checking out her world. Doop. So, She stayed here the entire live stream. She's been here now an hour and a half, just chilling with me in her little backpack. She loves the thing. All right, guys. Yeah, you know, I think if that works, like you could also get some bigger barbs too. Like you could get some T barbs, or, you know, some like filament barbs. Those are a little more expensive, but man, are they beautiful. Or mascara barbs. There are some really beautiful ones out there. Hey, thanks again for throwing out all those links, Chevy. I appreciate it. And it's good to see you around. You don't need to work so hard. But I mean, you can just come and kick it here. But I do appreciate you pulling the mod role and sharing all that. Thank you. Alex, is Aqua Imports another company to avoid? I don't know Aqua Imports off the top of my head. I can't speak to that. But if anybody I work with, like Aquatic Arts, if people have a problem, I will track down, you know, the manager, the everyone. And if their problem has not been solved, which it always has been in the past, 1 or 2 times it hadn't, and it's usually on that 1 in 1,000 customers that's just unhappy. They got the fish at 4 hours after they were delivered. It was 107 in Phoenix, Arizona. Their fish died, or their shrimp died, and they're just enraged. And they wrote the message 4 days later because they knew the shrimp were probably not doing good, or they didn't submit things right. There's usually something that's like really off in the exchange, and I can be like, yeah, that's not on Aquatic Arts part. That was you. But they've always made it right. And with companies that I back, like when I say I am now working with someone, if they did you dirty and I see the evidence, you got the receipts, you did things right, I am the kind of person where like I would put my money up to like make it right. Like that's how much I have to trust someone to become an affiliate with them. Like and otherwise, like with Moonlight, I think his deal, you can get a zebra pleco for $119. Those things used to be $300-$400. Even around town, 200 is not unusual for a 3-inch long, like adult zebra pleco. And yet his are 119 plus my 10% discount using the code Fishtory10 at Moonlight Aquatics. And is it going to maybe need parasite care? Like, should you maybe treat it once with like praziquantel or levamisole? Maybe. I mean, I'd probably put it in. I'd just observe it first. You know, most of the stuff he gets actually is from Asia, and it's not wild caught. So if it's a South American fish, it means it was bred in captivity a lot of times. Now there are a few exceptions of like the autosynclus and things that he gets, where I know it'll be, or like a rummy nose tetra, where I know that it's just something coming into Asia by like the tens of thousands, and it's been several places. But they're breeding in Asia, and he has a connection that a lot of people here don't, to mainland China. And mainland China uses hormones to induce breeding as well. And so they're able to trigger things that like the European Union could never officially use. Is that going to make your fish super fish or make them infertile or anything? No. But it's sometimes they'll do what's called juicing, and they'll make a fish that looks really red or really colorful, or it looks like it's in its spawning mode. And they've artificially kind of triggered puberty, essentially, or triggered spawning season in the fish to make it that much more appealing. And a lot of times in 3 or 4 months, that fish colors down and it goes back to being the normal fish, and you've got yourself a really dull colored fish, and you think you got kind of screwed over. But it's just the worst case is basically that happens. Oh yeah, and also Michelle, the discount right now, the code for Imperial is simply Fishtory. no numbers or anything. It's just all caps Fishtory. All my codes I'm trying to keep simple now, as just Fishtory, and then a lot of places kind of want either Fishtory 10 or Fishtory 15 so that they know what the discount is. Now, right now, Imperial's only giving me a 5% discount for you guys. 5% for you, 5% for me is what I wanted to suggest, and then cut down on that. And basically, I don't want as big of a percentage. I want to hand that to you guys so you guys can get 10%. So we'll see. I don't know if he'll do that, because that's kind of the deal that like Aquarium Co-op and things, like they're doing 5% also. But I am all for getting, because 5% to me feels like not that good of a deal. And like the amount I need the money as an affiliate link thing is not the same to me. I don't know, it goes farther on your ends. Like when I want to buy a fish, I'd rather have the 10% off than get a couple more pennies or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Let's see here. But yeah, so use the code Fishtory, and if I can, the other thing is, if a lot of y'all use that code, if any of you are going to buy stuff from Imperial anyways, or you want to try them out, they have a lot of good sales. So here, I was going to pull them up in just a moment. So Imperial, and Indubitable. Okay. Share the screen. I come from the land of the ice and snow, where the midnight sun and the hot winds blow. Hammer of the gods will drive our ships to new land. Yeah, and once you spend $100 with them, you'll get some free merch, some stickers, and a hat, and who knows what. No, so seriously though, look at their prices though. They're insane. They're wholesale prices. So this used to be a $44 fish, the Eureka Peacock. And this is a peacock cichlid, $7.99. They're absolutely beautiful. They're bred in America. I mean, it's so wild to me. The yellowtail acai, absolutely incredible fish too. Pseudotropheus elegans. Again, only $8.99. It used to be $35. So I mean, there's some of these. It was $14 for that smaller one. This used to be $29.99. So check their sale pages. Their weekly sales are really good, and they've got really interesting stuff. But also, they just get really interesting things like monster fish that I didn't have a good source for. Also, look at this. They've got all these guppies, and for a pair of, interesting guppies, and sometimes the pictures do justice, other times not. But like, I mean, look at these albino king cobra. These are really beautiful. I've seen these at Moonlight for $29.99. But again, like, they are going to sell you fat, fancy, lovely, big old chunky fish. And the selection they have of good stuff, pretty much everything, they'll either order certain things in, and then they'll have a new arrival section, like I was saying. But look at this, like black throat cichlid. Like, this is just a big chunky, and only $20. But a black throat cichlid, Central American, just I can tell you that's going to get like 1.5 feet long, just massive. They also do, different assorted. So when you see a price, check what that means, because say quantity 1, well, but it's a 12-pack of assorted Neocaridina shrimp. I wouldn't buy shrimp from these guys, just being straight up honest. But I mean, like, here, $11.99 for a 3-pack of the Von Rio Flame Wild Tetras with the 2-bar side pattern. That's absolutely wonderful. And I can tell you here, they're in Florida water, so they will color up way better than that. But like, their live bears, their Kohaku swords, I mean, look, they look great. They're all grown outside in the sun and they have good color. They also do plants, and like, you know, $6.99, not a bad deal. It's a good price for decent plants. So if you haven't tried them out before, they're definitely worth checking out. I mean, look at this, these red-eye puffers. Chang was selling the mini ones, the red-eyed pea puffers recently on Moonlight. But again, you know, really cool, interesting fish. They've got really stuff you don't find everywhere else. Now, so here's the gold laser cories, right? And a lot of times Imperial will make sure that they have really good genetics. So Moonlight may have just as good of fish for $11.99, right, that are orange lasers, but sometimes their shipments are better than others. So that's why if you see me going in there doing a live stream or posting a video or saying like, check these out, that's when you know, like, oh man, they must be really nice this time. Like, they've had things like freshwater moray eels and stuff that are just incredible. Like, look at this Odessa barb. Absolutely incredibly beautiful for a 3-pack of these things. $14.99. I mean, look at that with the blue, the yellow, just some of the stuff that you overlook in the hobby because you think, oh, I've seen that before. But again, this place is where it's at for cichlids, big cichlids, big cichlids. Hero tilapia, you know, rainbow cichlid, $24.99. Some of these fish, I mean, shipping wise, they're big chunky fish. They also have you know, things like their CPDs. Again, look at the quality though, and they do weekly, they just had one, they do weekly podcasts and live streams, or basically live streams that are, I think they later convert them into podcasts too, but you can watch them go from tank to tank. So if you want to see what they have in, shout it out. But I mean, yeah, look at this. If you want a wolffish, $8.99. It's because not that many people want. Oh, they only have this size, $14.99. The 2 to 3 inch ones left. But I mean, look at, if you want a massive 2-foot long monster tank buster fish. Okay, so the other Von Rios were $14.99. Here's a 3-pack of the pet Von Rios. They don't have the 2 bands on them. They're just bright. Like, that's a terrible picture, I'm not gonna lie. They are bright neon yellow. So, you know, you could ask them to go around, but I can tell you that what that fish would look like. Also, you know, they get good pictures sometimes and not so good pictures other times. But when I know that they have something good in that I've seen, like the order sheet or the info on, I'll let you guys know too. But again, like these Millennium rainbow fish, absolutely incredible. Theirs are like a blood red that I never see anywhere. And this is for 2 to 3 inch fish. So those aren't babies, you know, those aren't young fish. And they're also sex. So you can get a pair for $30 and know what you're getting. Know that you can make, I mean, they'll have eggs. Also silver dollar from $6.99. And I mean, they had the Sauron ones, the brand new ones with the they also have the blackberry ones right here, but they had the Eye of Sauron ones that are the new species. They also have a lot of these crazy morphs, like the red top albino zebra, you know, $6.99. Boom. Crazy prices on that kind of stuff. Again, they have a lot of live bears. They have a lot of, like, 112 ponds outside, and they grow a ton of like Dalmatian mollies, Dalmatian platies, Kohakus. Look at these creamsicle. These are so pretty with the blue, and then they're white and orange, and they got the big sail fin still. I love these creamsicle Dalmatians. $6.99. And they're already 1 to 2 inch. I mean, they're fully grown. They're ready for a 10-pack. Let's see, what would that be? $49.99. Then use my little discount, you know, basically take off the tax And shipping, it ain't cheap for any of these places, but I just wanted to shout out that now we have a crazy good place to pick up all sorts of live bears and cichlids. So I hope you guys use it. Maybe if some of us buy stuff there too, I'm gonna do an order from there sooner or later here, just because I want some of those fish. But yeah, I mean, check them out. They've got some really interesting stuff. If nothing else, just window shop, check them out, and then do your research and decide later if you can find one at your local fish store or whatever, or if you can find a better price, or go look at one of the many other online sites. If you have a favorite online site, by all means use it. But I mean, use these places as spots. Like Aquatic Arts usually has pretty good info on the fish. Moonlight's going to have rainbow fish you've never seen or heard before. It's going to have Southeast Asian fish you've never heard of or seen before, and prices that are crazy. So Moonlight's good for the price, quantity, and the rarity. Then I would say Imperial is going to be great prices, as a general rule, great quality, bred in America, raised in America, hobbyist bred lines that are then, brought to the farm and then mass bred. Also some import stuff. And then, there's Aquatic Arts, which has a mix of wild, hobbyist bred. They work with Circle City Aquarium Club. They work with a lot of breeders. A lot of their shrimp, their guppies, their live bears, their isopods, their springtails, their crabs, their crayfish. They specialize in all that kind of invert stuff. That's where I'd go for that. And also, again, these are all places, if they're on these lists of mine, if they're in my description, it means I think they're doing things ethically and correctly, and doing it in a way that is right by the customer and by the creature. They care about the animals, they care about the welfare, and they care about the state of, are they endangered? Is this sustainable? Where are we getting these genetics? Are they being bred in a way where someone's keeping track that there's diversity amongst who's being bred? All of this stuff is so overlooked a lot of times, but it's great. Low tech aquariums, cool. The takeaway of Moonlight Aquatics is about $10 cheaper for fish. Yes, exactly. It is a lot of times, and I'll be honest with you about that. Like I said, would I, if I wanted something from if I wanted to breed dove-eye cichlids for some reason, I'd get them from either Imperial or I'd get them from Dan's Fish. I'd spend a lot of money on a pair, and I know that they're shipped individually to my house. I know that they're free of any sort of parasite, that a vet looked at them, and that I don't need to worry about them. I probably would just observe them, but I wouldn't quarantine them even. And, that would be my breeding project fish. Then I would sell those babies for less than I paid, and try not to flood my local area. Basically I would probably sell, if I pay $80 for a fish, I probably would sell it for like 40 or 50 if it's grown to a decent size that I bought it at. Or for the fry, a lot of times I'll only charge a little bit, or I'll offer trade. So like I'll only charge like $10, and I'll say here's 6 or 10 babies or whatever. Because with cichlids, as long as they've been raised to the point where now they're eating food or whatever without their school, or they don't need to hide in their mom's mouth, or they're not eating biofilm off their parents or something unique like that, like discus and a lot of other fish do. Okay, I got one more question, it looks like. Sorry guys, I'm standing just because my back is like cramping up really bad. Somebody posted, my freshwater tank is almost at 60 days old. Water test shows all good except for pH and carbonates. What is your suggestion to deal with this? Well, your pH, if your pH is too high, meaning your alkalinity is high, all you can really do is you can add wood or acidic, you know, plants that have tannic acid and carbonic acid. That's really all you can do. I mean, you could add something like humic acid, but don't chase your pH. If it's under 8.0, I would try to find fish that can deal with that, honestly, if that's what comes out of your tap. If it's really up there, or you really want fish like tetras and cichlids that are in soft water, then I would suggest getting an RODI unit for $150 to $300. And yeah, it's a pain compared to just opening the tap, but you can knock off, even with carbon filters and stuff, you can really knock off a good amount of that KH, and you can get that pH down to closer to neutral or maybe 7.4 without even RODI. Even just using like a Brita filter, sometimes folks have told me they've gotten their levels down quite a bit lower. So if you have a small tank, the other thing you can do is you can go to one of those big, where you get a 5-gallon jug of like water for a water cooler, and you can just get that if it's distilled water or if it's purified water. You know, if it says something like that, if it says spring water or mineral water, then that doesn't mean anything. But if it's distilled or, you know, purified or RODI water, then that would mean that it's RO water, reverse osmotically filtered. And distilled water is also good. But reverse osmosis is through a membrane, and it means that it got everything all the way down to bacteria out and really fine particles out. It's just pure water. And in that case, though, you need to add a bit of your tap water with that KH in it, just so there's some minerality for your fish and for your plants and things, and so that it doesn't drop. Because if you add pure water, distilled water with nothing else in it, just water molecules, it starts losing the hydrogen off the oxygen, and the oxygen slowly goes up as O2, but the hydrogen breaks away too. And you start getting ions, and then you start getting the pH dropping. Your per hydrogen, which is what pH stands for, you start ending up lower and lower down, and you can get all the way into like 4 pH. And it's just pure water, but all it takes is like a teaspoon of sodium bicarbonate, and boom, you know, you're back up to 7.4 or something. So your aqua soils and things can also help with this a lot too. But you can try wood, you can try like almond leaves and things like that. If we're talking like it's at 8.0 and you want it at 7.5, but don't chase the pH, and unless you're ready to get the RODI filtration system or you have lots of tanks. Get fish that work for your water, I think, is the message. Now, a lot of fish, even I know people who have bred their ram cichlids, which we used to be told 10, 15 years ago that they would die in any water over 7.0, basically, and that you needed like 5.0 water to breed them. Well, now people are breeding them in 7.8. You know, they're living in 8.0 water. They can get accustomed. So some of it is through acclimation. It can get there. Do I have a code for Dan's Fish anymore? I technically have a landing page where you can get 2.5% off or something. To me, that's not even a thing anymore. And so I'm not. Shop there, go ahead, but I'm not giving out the code anymore, because there is no code that works. It's a landing page that you have to click, and with that, all my former codes and landing pages and stuff are all invalid. So I'd have to re-update everything. So I'm just not dealing with it. But if you know, I still do recommend Dan's as a good place for the most part. You know, I think there have been a few changes that some people have mentioned. Some folks have said they think things have changed a little bit. But I haven't bought anything from there for a year now, so I don't really firsthand know, and I haven't heard anything super egregious. But I think I don't know. The jury's still out there. Some things have changed though a little bit. So how long does a teaspoon of sodium bicarbonate last? You know, that's all chemistry stuff that you'd have to figure out. You have to look online, figure out your pH. You have to figure out how much KH or GH you already have in your tank. And then you'd have to figure out if you're using sodium bicarbonate or sodium, you know, different forms of it, like baking powder, baking soda. You know, there's different things people add. Some people use like Cuttlebone, or some people use, you know, because there's the calcium and then there's the carbonate that are both elements you want in your tank in some amount. The easiest way is to just get remineralizer powders, and they'll tell you 1 teaspoon for 10 gallons or whatever. That's the easiest way to do it. And a lot of those will have trace, you know, zinc or trace manganese and the other things that are good minerals to have in your water as well. All right, let's see here. I have fish in 3 different tanks that look like they're wasting or have sunken bellies, and I think pulling each into a hospital tank. But doesn't that mean those tanks should be treated too? Yeah, if they've already been in the community tank, in theory, you need to treat everything. That being said, if it seems like it's only attacking one species, you can maybe just treat the affected fish and see if they get better in the hospital tanks. And if they do, fatten them up. Again, feed them good high protein food if they're meat eaters. Even if they're not meat eaters, they can eat like 50% protein. And then a good vegetative, maybe frozen food. And then from there, you can return them back, and hopefully, you know, you fix the issue. If it's something that's still alive in the substrate or a bacterial type thing or whatnot, then you might not be able, you know, it might reinfect the fish, and that would really suck that you'd have to spend all that time and then just find that out again. But you know, I would take the fish out and treat the impacted fish first. If others start coming down with problems, then you can take, you know, 1 or 2 more out. But if that happens and it spreads beyond them after they're gone, then you probably should treat the whole tank anyways. Guys, I am gonna get out of here. I appreciate all of you oh so much, and I'm excited that now we've got this awesome friend in Imperial Aquatics, and you can go check them out, imperialtropicals.com. The code will stay the same whether I can get it up to 10% or not. Look, they have all sorts of Tanganyikan fish, Lake Malawi, Lake Victoria. I mean, they've got really, really cool selections of cichlids at good prices for high quality fish that and they're breeding in America. It's an all-American independent business, and they're going straight to consumer, which I really admire. And the transparency of them live streaming, walking through the facility once a week, I really appreciate that too. Well, I'm going to work on a couple more videos for y'all, hopefully soon. Also, my kitty cat's waking up. My wife is going to be home early today. Look at, hi, kitty cat. You waking up in your backpack? You want me to walk you around the town in your backpack? Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl. Hey, baby girl. Sumi. She loves this backpack. But I'm gonna also take her outside because look, it's look at that, it's sunshine, and oh, look at it's CO2 tanks filled. So it's time for me to actually, I got the CO2 tanks filled, I got the rocks, I got the wood. It's time for me to start building the aquascape soon in the high-tech tank that I obviously told you guys I was starting in this new year. So I got lots of things on the to-do list and all that. Actually, first I'll probably have to rest because that's what I have to do after I do anything for a couple hours. But again, thank you so much to the mod help from Chevy Fish, and also to all you in the chat, all you members. Thank you for helping me keep the lights on. If you're a member, even at $1.99, it helps so much, and I appreciate it. But even if you're not a member, just coming here, liking, subscribing, clicking the little buttons, interacting, leaving a comment, it really does mean a lot to me, and I thank you so much. You guys are sincerely my friends, and it's always good to spend time with you, especially when I'm feeling better. It's been a year, but 2026 is going to be much better. I can feel it already. I'm going to get things back on track, and thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the super chat, and also lurkers, thank you wherever you are lurking about. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye. I got my mind set on you.